my darlings, welcome back to another exciting adventure on everybody's favorite paranormal talk show, Radio Wasteland. I'm your host, Chauncey Allworth. This is my co-host, Kara Kittrick.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Kara?
I'm surviving, barely. Just fending off the angry hordes, trying to break in, tear me apart.
Right.
It's a normal day in urban America.
Totally. Well, I mean, this past year has taught us, it's taught us to think about our mortality, tyranny, standing up for freedom, all these civil rights and all this stuff. But I think it also popped in one question that we're going to cover today quite a bit, and that is a zombie plague actually possible? Because when you see this stuff spread, any fan of paranormal or horror, as soon as the virus went, we're just all like, is this it?
Yeah, and I feel like there's always a kind of a hint of like, ooh, what if this is it? Because like, as ways for the human race to go out, zombie plague is probably the most fun. Because you get to shoot your problems, and also really there's no one telling you what to do. Mm-hmm. So if you're an embittered loner with guns, then it's ideal, really. Compared to anything else. I mean, sure, if robot uprising, maybe you can shoot at robots, but more likely, the robots will just, they'll have predator drones and they'll just kill you, or, nuclear bombs or something.
So I'm kind of wussy. I always thought the nicest way for the people of the world to go would be either to instantly blow up and nobody saw it coming, like a gamma burst, Yeah. Or
rogue black hole, something like that.
Or the happening, where the plants actually secrete a pheromone that just gets us all so high and we eventually die in OD.
Yeah, those would both be nice, but
I'm kind of wussy. I don't know if I'm ready for a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of a very specific strain of person.
Right.
For, the kind of person who has a zombie survival plan. It's like
the kind of person who listens
survivalist.
Wussy us.
Yeah, I mean, if we haven't already turned them all off, but yeah. So I think there's that subset that is desperately hoping zombies could be a thing.
Right.
I think it could be a thing, but not in the way it is in movies. Not exactly. I think if there's a zombie plague, it's the plague-like behavior of the zombies is going to be a result of the fact that they are human, and not a result of the fact that they are infected with a horrible virus. It's going to be idiots spreading their zombie plague on purpose. This year has, if it's taught me one thing, it is that a lot of people are going to be like, don't worry, you can't get the zombie virus from being bitten. I'm fine.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, to be fair, there's always that guy in the movies.
Yeah, there is that guy.
There's that guy who's just a what, nothing, or he tries to cover it up and lie to himself about how he's just going to be just fine. But then eventually, you know what happens. He turns on his people. And
what I've learned now is it isn't just that one guy. It's going to be like most people are going to be like that. Right.
You think so? It's not just the high-powered, coked up Wall Street guy.
No, it's going to be, it's mainly going to be like the homeschool moms.
Oh, right.
Those are
the Karens. Is that
the Karens? Those are the people we're really going to need to be worried about.
Let me speak to your manager so I can hear.
Yeah, it's just going to be the lumbering Karens with just fungal pustules bursting from their cranium, chewing on their children.
Looking like Kate from John and Kate with a terrible rash.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's get into the first one here before we come up on break, and that's newly discovered fungi turn flies into zombies and devour them from the inside out. Two newly discovered fungi species have a similarly macabre mode of action. They eat flies alive while using them to drop spores on new victims.
Yeah. So we talked about, actually, it was a news item, I think. Like
that was in Live Science, by the way, livescience.com, but go ahead.
Yeah, but we talked about something that was similar.
With ants.
Yeah, well, a few years ago. And it's crazy. Fungi just love turning insects into zombies, which, there's lots of things that do this. So the one I reported on a few years ago, it actually turns the bug into something that is more fungus than insect, but it's still trying to mate with the other insects.
Man, that is a freaky Roger Corman movie or something.
Right? Yeah. It's horrifying.
Yeah. The mating aspect, it just takes it into this 1980s B-level sci-fi movie.
It does. Yeah. I mean, I'm fine if the zombies are trying to bite me, but please not in a sexual context.
Right. Yeah.
I only like the zombie hordes as a friend.
What about Tina from Bob's Burgers? She likes that. I love her. Yeah, have you ever seen The Girl with All the Gifts?
No.
That's about spore fungi zombie attack. And actually there's a line or two in I believe in Night of the Living Dead. There's one line that alludes to that it might be from a passing comet, and another that has to do with potential spores or something.
Interesting.
So, Girl with All the Gifts, great movie, terrifying though, because when I saw it, I was aware of some of this science that's out there, and
right,
it scared me.
So it's true that, fungi have been snacking on insects and making them do their bidding in this way for, hundreds of millions of years. Not so much with people, but there are parasites that can do weird things to people. Toxoplasmosis makes you like cats. So
makes you like cats?
Yeah.
I think I have that.
I mean, lots of people like cats anyway, but apparently it's a thing because toxoplasmosis wants to get into the cat. And so parasites affecting our neurology and making us behave in ways we might not otherwise behave. Yeah. That's a thing. That's a thing nature does.
That is an insert cuss word here, terrifying. All right, you're listening to Radio Wasteland. We're coming up on break. When we come back, we're going to talk about, did Nostradamus predict any zombie apocalypse for 2021? We're going to talk about what Nostradamus has to say for 2021. Excellent. Is it going to be better than 2020? We'll see. Visit Radio Wasteland at Instagram at instagram.com/Radio Wasteland. And welcome back to Radio Wasteland. We're talking zombies, all zombies. Up here now, from zombie apocalypse and global famine to meteor strike and World War III. Here are Nostradamus's predictions for 2021 from thetimesnownews.com. I don't know if that's credible, but how credible is Nostradamus? We'll just
exactly, yeah.
All right, so French prophet Nostradamus made thousands of predictions for the future in his books over 465 years ago. And this article says, and a whopping number of them have already come true, but I think that's a bit open for debate. His predictions about the rise of Hitler, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and the 9/11 attacks, again, this article says, have come true.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, all of his prophecies are pretty vague, so it's pretty easy to fit existing events into what he's talking about. Also, when you consider that, for every one prophecy he has that came true, he has dozens that didn't. Right. So, his track record is mixed, but meteor strikes. Technically, he doesn't say zombie apocalypse. He says the rise of a great evil disease that renders sufferers half dead. So, could be vampirism? Fingers crossed, please.
He did get poetic and call it a pestilent she-monster. of a
Ooh,
plague that
yes.
will cause all the world to end and leave fathers and mothers dead of infinite sorrows.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah.
Um,
I like the poetry, Nostra. What do you call them
yeah.
for short?
But really a lot of diseases, I think, leave their sufferers half dead. I mean, if
Yeah.
we're being sort of poetic about it.
And does that mean half the population dead? Does that mean I'm half dead? I don't know. It's a little.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that means zombie apocalypse so much as regular plague. I will say, if we get a zombie apocalypse and a meteor strike in 2021, odds are we'll also get a World War III. So that's a good bet there.
I got to say, if we get both those things in 2021 or any one of those things in 2021, I think that'd make me a believer in Nostradamus.
Nostradamus?
Well, I mean, in a zombie apocalypse, if that happens in 2021, I'm in.
Well, sure.
I'm in
But
Nostradamus.
But what if it's just a regular plague and
just a regular plague? Only in 2021 does that sentence make sense.
it's true.
In 2019, you'd be all just a regular plague. What?
Yeah, I mean, God, what I would give for just a regular plague at this point.
Remember the good old days when it was just a regular plague? Back in my day, we used to have to deal with 2 plagues on the way to school.
Oh my God, I just realized that millennials and just anyone who is alive right now is going to be insufferable about it in 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
To our kids. We're going to be like, I had to wear a mask for a whole year, and I didn't because I was stupid.
Right.
Gosh.
Yeah, I don't know. That has crossed my mind too. It's like how quickly, because I'm ready to just leave it behind and not talk about it any longer.
The year that we never discuss again.
Right. Yeah. Well,
that would be for the best.
I knew this guy who was married for 12 years and he had 12 roses tattooed on his arm, and 9 of them were red and 3 of them were black.
Okay.
And I'm just all, why are only some of them red? And he's all, oh, those were the good years. I'm all like, okay.
Oh my God.
That's some hardcore tattooing right there, guy.
Was he still married?
Yeah, at the time, but it ended.
Was he just adding? It was like, hey, honey, I added another black rose.
Yeah, totally. It's like, I can see it on you. I can see that you thought this year sucked.
And he had 3 of them. So this has been going on.
Right. Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah. And they weren't in a row. They were like,
I have to meet this man. I need to know more. What a legend.
Yeah. Artiste. His life is art. All right. Nostradamus also said a global famine. A great trouble is prepared for us in all 2021, which will be of rain, blood, milk, famine, steel, and plague.
My goodness gracious. Okay.
Okay. So, some of these we actually are. So we have no rain. Blood, of course, bloodborne pathogens and disease. I can see that in there too. Figuring out how to take care of people. Milk, I'm a little lost for the milk. Maybe that's a supply line thing, distribution chain. Famine, again, the distribution chain. We suffered a bit there because of the economy, and we will be dealing with it. Steel, I don't know. And plague, of course. Yeah, again, they're vague. Maybe we should write some prophecies. This year for Christmas, last year for Christmas, Terry, me, and Joanna, we wrote down our predictions for what was going to happen the following year. And then this year at Christmas, we wrote down what we thought about last year and what we thought was going to happen the next year. And we keep them all in a bag so that we can read them every year on Christmas about what happened over the last year, or New Year's, not Christmas.
Yeah. Well, 2020 is an unusually tough year.
Yeah, none of us said pandemic.
Yeah, none of us said we'll be trapped in our homes for 10 months.
Right. Well, it ain't done yet. And then finally he said for 2021, solar storms and a meteor strike wrote about a long trail of sparks in the sky, which is made of fire, which could mean that a giant asteroid may hit Earth. NASA has predicted that giant asteroids are likely to hit the Earth in the next few years.
I don't know if NASA has predicted that.
I don't either. I think this article might be getting a little loose, but I like it.
Yeah.
I like where they're going with it, but,
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. I think if there is, in fact, a giant asteroid impact, depending on how large it is, all the other stuff, famine, war, disease, will definitely happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because one thing kind of follows from the other.
Yeah.
The collapse of civilization tends to do that.
What was it? Lucifer's Hammer? We both read that?
Oh, that's such a good book. And it's pretty darn accurate.
Except for the guy surfing the tidal wave. That's got to go.
I thought that was funny.
It was funny, but I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a little unlikely, maybe. But yeah, no, the massive climate disruptions and the tidal waves and the
cannibalistic army.
Cannibalistic army, yep.
You're listening to Radio Wasteland. We're talking about zombies. When we come back, we're going to talk about, could scientists really create a zombie virus? Come on back. And don't forget to follow Radio Wasteland on Facebook at facebook.com/radiowasteland.us. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and we're talking about zombies, Kara and I being Chauncey, Kara being Kara. So this article is from popsci.com, Popular Science. Could scientists really create a zombie virus? An effective agent would target and shut down specific parts of the brain. We're talking to Stephen C. Schultzman, assistant professor of psychiatry at Harvard. A series of functional... Oh, he wrote a bunch of articles about this, which makes him a creeper. But there's actually something they could do to the frontal lobe that would make you want to eat people, or at least eat a lot more meat. And they're talking about how the most... to deteriorate the brain in this way, they're talking about proteins and prions, and that this is actually somewhat possible. Of course, they wouldn't be dead, though. They wouldn't be.
Yeah, well, a lot of zombies aren't dead,
That's called a rage virus. It's a whole different genre of movie.
Fair enough. But what about, the one with Jesse Eisenberg and...
Zombieland?
Zombieland. Yeah, that's a rage virus. Those
they're
zombies
not dead?
aren't. Yeah, they're not dead.
Oh.
They're kind of gross and sick, but you don't have to shoot them in the head. You can shoot them anywhere, and they're fast.
Oh, I guess, yeah, you can be pussy and still be alive.
Yeah. So yeah, engineered virus. There's a couple things going on here. I think engineered virus that shuts down specific parts of the brain, maybe in the next few years. We would have to start with something. We'd have to start with something that already kind of does that. Engineering prions, I don't know. I think because we barely understand how prions work. There's a lot we don't really get about prions right now, and so we're a long, long way away from making a prion that does something specific.
Yeah, okay, so this is pretty nerdy, but for the rage virus thing, this is one of the things that popped into my head. When I was a kid, I played a role-playing game. There was this role-playing game system that, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Robotech, and a lot of them were based off of. And there was another one called Something World that was this post-apocalyptic that was based off of the same engine or whatever.
Sure.
And in there was a character type called juicers that basically, were like Bane from Batman, where they were just constantly being pumped up with
okay.
with cray juice,
That's probably the most benevolent version of someone who is called a juicer.
Right.
I was imagining that, please don't juice me, sir.
Right.
I do not wish to be juiced.
That and Jack LaLanne. You didn't watch enough late night television to remember Jack LaLanne, the guy on late night TV that was trying to sell you the juicer? He was like 80s and in a tracksuit.
Okay. I guess you could conceptualize him as a juicer.
Yeah.
And that's better than Roid Monster or
Roid Monster. I like that. But it does seem to me like a rage virus would be possible, that they did something to you that just, because I mean, a lot of people out there that take brain meds, right?
Sure.
I took Wellbutrin, pretty benign, right? But it made me agitated. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I'm sure that this is possible.
All that stuff comes from nature, and our understanding of microbiology and neurology, I guess, it's still not at the level where we can be like, move this protein here, it will do this. We're still in a guess and check mode on all that kind of thing. And basically we find something in nature and say, hey, this drug does X. And, we tinker with it. We say, hey, if we do this, then it makes people levitate. And it's like, okay, cool. So I think it's possible. I think, I'm just saying the universe would have to cooperate a little to make this a reality.
Yeah, and I wonder about the like statistics of it all. Are we more dangerous in dabbling, or do you think we're more dangerous when we know?
What do you mean?
in dabbling, it's like statistically, are we very unlikely to create a rage virus, or can you dabble to the point where you're like, oh, whoops, we made a rage virus?
Okay, I see what you mean. I think the scenarios we're talking about are pretty unlikely in any case, but I think the odds of just accidentally making a rage virus seem low. Mm-hmm. But that said, we already do have a rage virus. We have rabies. So if someone was to just modify rabies to be airborne, for instance, like airborne rabies would be freaking terrifying.
No, that's true. There's a good movie right there.
Yeah. I mean,
you could call it airborne rabies and have it about airbornes in like the military. Yeah. And the airborne rabies could also be airborne.
My only thing is, if you want to kill a bunch of people with a virus, there's no reason to make it a rage virus. Just make it a virus that is deadly, but has a very long incubation period, is highly contagious, and can be spread by asymptomatic people.
So a better COVID.
Yeah, better COVID. Just make a deadlier COVID. Yeah, I was going to say a deadlier, more contagious COVID, but COVID is actually about as contagious as you can get. So, yeah, right. Just make COVID that kills more, and you're pretty much golden as far as bioweapons go.
Our government always talks about, no bioweapons, and we're opposed to this, that, and the other thing. Mm-hmm. Yet we're constantly seeing scientists talk about what we're capable of doing. So it does lead you to believe that.
I keep getting the sense that these scientists really want to make a bioweapon. Like, oh, we shouldn't, but let's be bad. Let's make a bioweapon. Just to see.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to pick some sort of like screwed up motivation, can't they just go back to the traditional, we're going to make a woman with 3 boobs or something? It's like, why you got to fantasize about killing everybody? Now, don't get me wrong. Making a woman with 3 boobs is terrible too. But at least we live.
Yeah.
At least we live. It's like, of the evil motivations, killing everybody is like kind of at the top. I guess that's why. They're shooting for the stars and hoping to hit at the boob level.
A lot was happening in what you just said. I'm sorry. I'm not tracking all of that.
I guess the joke that I'm trying to make here is like, I don't understand the motivation behind this stuff.
They want to kill
Where
people.
is the motivation? Is the argument I want to be able to cure it when somebody else does it? Or is it that we just want to have the option of killing everybody?
It's for the same reason that some people collect knives, They just want to feel dangerous.
All right. You're listening to Radio Wasteland. When we come back, we got one more article for you, and that is actually medically reported cases of possible zombies here on Radio Wasteland.
I don't know what time it was
Find all our shows and archives by visiting Radio Wasteland at radiowasteland.us. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and we're talking about zombies. This one comes from History.com, a credible website, except for, I don't know, their TV shows. Don't they have, they're not so credible. All right. Though it's rare, there are several credible reports in medical journals of people using these compounds, basically medicines, to induce paralysis in people and then revive them from the grave. So they're talking about like Serpent in the Rainbow style zombies, where these zombies, Haitian voodoo sort of situations. I don't know. Have you ever seen Serpent in the Rainbow?
I haven't, but I'm pretty familiar with the topic of your Haitian zombies. It's a fascinating thing. It is something that only works in the cultural context of Haiti, because it's about subterfuge just as much as it is about paralysis and brain damage. Because there's cultural myths there of sorcerers raising the dead to do their bidding. So, whereas there aren't here necessarily. So it's a little easier to...
Have you listened to many of these extreme evangelical churches and what they talk about what's possible out in the world now?
Okay, true. But it's not as specific, Right. Same level of crazy, but it's not that specific myth. So basically what these guys do is, they paralyze someone. Hopefully, someone very superstitious. They paralyze them, dig them up, keep them, doped up on drugs. So they're sort of in a fugue state and they're like, I'm a sorcerer. You are a corpse. I have risen, pulled you out of the grave. And now you have to do my bidding. And they're like, oh, heck, I guess I do have to do their bidding, because that's how the myth goes.
Right.
So the only thing keeping them in servitude is them.
Huh. Yeah, I guess you're right that it's cultural, because I couldn't imagine somebody bringing me up and doing that and me not second guessing it, going like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
going to play along with this for a while, but only until I find an unlocked door.
Who isn't a deep believer in this specific myth,
right?
This would not work on at all.
Well, let's check a couple of them. In 1997 article in the British medical journal The Lancet described 3 verifiable accounts of zombies. In one case, a Haitian woman who appeared to be dead was buried in a family tomb, only to reappear 3 years later. Indeed. An investigation revealed that they filled her tomb with stones, and that when she turned up, they took her to the hospital, and she was, air quotes, all right.
Yeah. Once they take you off the crazy drugs to keep you in a fog, then they'll just be like, oh, wait, no, I'm not dead. I'm not dead at all. That was horrible.
In another well-documented case, a Haitian man with the coolest name ever, Clairvius Narcisse, entered a local hospital with severe respiratory problems. This was in 1962. After he slipped into a coma, Narcisse was declared dead and was buried shortly after. That's pretty hardcore.
Wait, did he actually come back? What happened?
Well, but 18 years later, a man walked up to Angelica Narcisse in a village marketplace, insisting she was his sister. Doctors, townspeople, and family members all identified him as Clairvius Narcisse, who claimed he had been buried alive, then dug up and put to work on a distant sugar plantation.
Yep.
That is
That's
the story. That's pretty much the story of White Zombie. I don't know if you know that old movie with Bela Lugosi, White Zombie, and then they remade it, but that's pretty much the premise behind it, is that they're making these zombies to put them to work in sugar plantations.
Yeah.
So,
Worth noting that the whole concept of the zombie myth, the word zombie, this is where it comes from. It's the Haitian thing, not the rage virus thing. No, I'm saying that for the benefit of the audience. I know that you know.
Oh yeah, I forgot. The audience is dumb. Those dumb. Oh wait, is this on? No,
I'm just saying.
No. I get you.
Knows.
I totally get you. This is another one of those situations, like I've said about the Bible and Jeopardy and getting questions right, where I have a fair amount of Haitian voodoo zombie knowledge thanks to horror film.
Yeah.
Although voodoo zombies are not something that you see too often in horror movies, but if you watch enough of them, you start to pick up on this stuff. All right, you've been listening to Radio Wasteland. We've been talking about zombies, and you have been just absolutely fantastic. Thanks for listening, and check us out next week.